Well, now let's take a closer look at Amazon with Sucharita Kodali joining me live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Sucharita is a retail analyst at Forrester Research. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So give us a bit of insight into how Prime Day's growth has really changed over the past 5 years.
Well, what it started as in 2015 was just the 20th anniversary of Amazon's inception. And it was just a way to thank customers, of course, in a way that, delivered sales for Amazon. And Americans and consumers around the world love sales. They love great deals. We see that every Q4 during Black Friday and all of the sale moments in the holiday season. And it shouldn't have been a surprise that the first Prime Day did as well as it did. So Amazon has just continued to anniversary it. They end up having more deals every year in more countries, and they've extended the amount of time that the deals are also available. It's 48 hours now, whereas in the past it was even less than 24 hours because remember, their site often had crashed during Prime Day in the past.
So clearly it's working. We even saw other retailers enticing customers thanks to all the buzz that came from the Prime Day events. But beyond Prime Day itself, what does the overall competition between Amazon and some of these other brick and mortar or other e-commerce retailers look like?
Well, the overarching story in retail is that e-commerce has been growing often at the expense of physical goods retail. So that is why so many bricks and mortar retailers have doubled down on e-commerce. You see Walmart investing heavily in e-commerce, Target investing heavily in e-commerce, Best Buy, and the list goes on and on. And their growth rates have actually been driven in large part because of their investments in .com. So Amazon has certainly been an enormous beneficiary of the growth in e-commerce, but what we are seeing is that other retailers are catching up and that they are doing well, and Amazon's growth in the United States for physical goods is actually slowing down, which is why they're focused on so many other parts of their business, like Amazon Web Services, Amazon Advertising, and their third-party seller business.
And we did see that ahead of Prime Day that Amazon announced its workforce retraining efforts in a way to sort of offset the losses from automation and its focus on other areas. What do you think that tells us about Amazon's labor strategy?
I always worry. There is the expression, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. In this case, beware of geeks bearing gifts. And the reason for that is that the labor retraining theoretically sounds like a great idea, and it should be if these workers are able to subsequently get high-paying jobs. But if ultimately the goal is to get more data from consumers, to get more data and to further entrench and entrap employees. One of the skills that they're looking to retrain, for instance, is nurses. Amazon has also announced that they have an enormous effort in trying to revamp healthcare in the United States. Are those nurses then going to be used for that healthcare initiative? It's too early to tell, but certainly there are questions, fair, legitimate questions that need to be asked about motives and ultimately outcomes here.
And as we look at motives, one deal that shoppers might have missed was Amazon offering this $10 worth of credit to let Amazon track your web activity when you install its price shopping comparison tool, Amazon Assistant. Now, the fine print says your data can also be used for general marketing, products and services unrelated to the shopping assistant. What is Amazon's end game there?
Well, one of the big parts of the strategy of Prime Day now is also that it is able to get its hardware and devices into as many hands as possible. The Echo Dot, they're essentially, as you mentioned, just giving it away in many cases. And a lot of it is about just the ecosystem of the consumer in the home. It is everything from a device that helps to essentially power a smart home to a device that listens to consumers while they're in their home so that Amazon can get a better sense of everything from what are people actually doing when they're shopping, when they're not shopping, when they are just in their kitchen, or even when, even also just behavior in general that can help their own technologies like artificial intelligence and voice recognition. So there are a lot of places where this has a very, very handy end goal for Amazon. Whether or not it's the best outcome for consumers still remains to be seen.
And what are some of the other industries or regions of the world that Amazon is investing in that people might not be aware of?
Well, what happened in China was that essentially Amazon was unable to compete. They invested a tremendous amount. They had more distribution centers and warehouses in China than they had in all of Europe. And China, it was just never successful for Amazon. It was never able to get as much share as even JD.com, and it was nowhere never a viable competitor to Alibaba. The country that it seems to be doubling down on now is India. That is the only market in the world that has as many people as China and that they believe has as much of a market opportunity. They have invested a bit in the Middle East. They just rebranded their Souk website that they had purchased a while back to Amazon.ae. So that's another area where they are focused. They've had some minor investments in Latin America, but nothing really that is remarkable enough that I would write home about it.
All right, thank you so much, Sucharita Kodali, there, retail analyst at Forrester Research.